Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the one and only show on the internet, this internet anyway, where we talk about all things sci-fi, fantasy, movies, and television. Other shows dare to tread where we brush the clouds, but we are going to go right up that mountain and bring you the news that no one else is willing or rather able to do. I am Dan Selcke, the editor of winneriscoming.net, and I am here with Daniel Roman, another editor at winneriscoming.net. Daniel, how does this week find you?
This week finds me scandalized and concerned about the future of all of my favorite shows. Not really, they're all doing great, but everyone on them seems like they are doing questionably. So, roundabout way of saying good. How are you, Dan?
I'm pretty well, but I'm curious, what are you talking about? Folk on your favorite shows who are not doing well? Did an actor have a hip?
Oh, no. No, I'm talking about a certain king of the narrow sea getting booted out of King's Landing, about lies and scandals piling up. I'm in it. I've been thinking about nothing but King's Landing gossip for days.
It was a memorable one. I mean, this to me was the episode of House of the Dragon, by the way, Game of Thrones prequel show currently on HBO, where things heated up and it was a point of no return. By the way, thanks for all our commenters coming into the chat. Hello, Natalie. Hello, Kathleen. Hello, Julie. Hello, Christian. Hello, Martha. Welcome. Hello, Andaman.
Good to see you all.
Welcome back, everybody. And of course, let's talk. Let's start with House of the Dragon, of course, which is I think. So now that we're four episodes in, and the ratings are somehow still going up, Daniel. I guess when the show started, I was adopting a posture of cautious optimism because I was thinking Game of Thrones was this giant phenomenon. Lightning doesn't strike twice, what I'm told. It's what I was lied to when I was a kid and my mother. And apparently, it's actually looking like this new show is coming pretty close to capturing some of the fervor that defined the Game of Thrones peak era. Daniel, audience, could this end up being as big as the old show? Could the sequel prequel actually surpass what came before? Could this be Frasier to Game of Thrones Cheers?
Oh, what a parallel to draw there. I do like Frasier quite a bit more than Cheers. Could it be?
I do too.
Man, I don't know. I do think the lightning right now, it feels pretty electric. Feels like it's striking twice a little bit because the ratings going up the way they have is not typical. It speaks well to people, like to word of mouth, people spreading the word that the show's really good. Week after week for the first 4 weeks, it has not dipped really.
So against football.
It's against this weekend I think was the beginning of NFL season, so that really surprised me. That says a lot if they didn't drop very much in the first weekend of NFL season. So I think, I don't know if it's going to surpass the original show. That's such an impossible benchmark to hold it to. And it's a different story. I wonder if people might, I don't want to say check out, but like it's more intimate. Do you think it would have the same broad appeal considering how like almost more like a play it is, this show?
I think that someone put it back together. I didn't do this. I found this today. Who was even in here?
They knew you needed it.
Okay, yes. Anyway, thank you, Richard. Anyway, I think that Viva la Difference, that the fact that it is a little different is helping folk see the same world in a new way. Like you said, you're afraid folk will like check out, but they're not. The audience is growing as we watch.
But they're not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if things keep going the way they are, if people are as interested as they clearly are, I don't see any reason it couldn't get up to bigger heights. And I've said this to you, and I've been thinking lately, now that I know what the kind of the actors look like in their characters, and I know sort of the tone they're going for. Before, I knew what was going to happen in the story, right? I'd read Fire and Blood. I'm reading it now. I'm reading it now for because why not? But I didn't know what it was going to look like on the screen. Now that I do, now I can picture what these actors are going to look like and what tone they'll strike as they get some of the more crazy events later in the story. And I'm like, whoa, that stuff could be as intense as advertised, because this stuff gets pretty insane. And again, now that I have confidence that they actually can sell a good show and they can write it in a way that's going to appeal to people and they can direct it in a way that's going to be memorable, I'm like, they actually do have some giant peaks coming up. So I don't see why not. I say, get your expectations wildly out of whack. I say, shoot for the moon and then land in the stars, which makes no sense. That's saying, I hate that saying. And just let your expectations get out of control. Why not? We're going to be the biggest show in the history of television. Screw Frasier.
Yeah. Sorry, Frasier. I mean, no, Frasier, you're great. Don't leave Frasier.
I love
Frasier. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think it's just doing well. I think it's good to see kind of how people have taken with it. And I think once we get dragons fighting dragons, I think if there's a point where it's going to feel like this show could give Game of Thrones a run for its money, I think it's going to be once dragons start fighting dragons, because that's not something we really got in Game of Thrones. Like there's that one fight with the Night King, but it's dark. It's hard to see. That's kind of the whole thing they were going for. Love it or hate it. So yeah, seeing it well lit, battles over some cities, over certain lakes, I think it's going to be pretty epic.
It's fun to watch TV producers kind of come up against the wall of what's possible, even given infinite budgets. Because like Game of Thrones was the most expensive TV show of its time, and that dragon fight was still the darkest thing you'd ever seen in your life, because I'm guessing they just couldn't afford to like light two giant dragons from an episode of TV yet. And now we're in a new place. Can they do it? The Rings of Power, spending billions of dollars to make Matrix elves throw chains at orcs. I mean, clearly the things stand up, cool. But I'm looking forward to seeing. I agree. That will be the inflection point. Will they pull off the dragon on dragon fight, which might be coming later this season? And that will determine where it goes there. I like Christian's comment, by the way, that he says, perhaps people who didn't watch Game of Thrones because they were so far behind are jumping in early on this one after hearing they didn't have to watch Game of Thrones to understand what's going on. I'll just say that again. I'm just surprised with how well it's done right out of the gate. I'm surprised with how popular it seems to be pretty early on, with not a lot of stumbling blocks and no dips. So I've just been impressed and surprised and encouraged. By the way, Martha asks, will it be tricky with a change of Rhaenyra? Will people still love it? That's a great question, because the actor's going to be replaced a couple episodes. I have no idea. Dan, you may or may not have seen what happens then. Can you give your spoiler-free impressions?
I can. Yeah, I can talk about this. So I have seen the older versions of Rhaenyra and Alicent. I think it will be a little bit of an adjustment, but man, they come out of the gate swinging, is what I will say with that. I think both actors do a really amazing job. It'll just be a little bit of getting used to it not being Millie Alcock and Emily Carey, because we've been with them for a month and change now. I think people will warm to the older actors. I think we'll all probably miss the younger ones, though. It's going to be one of those things, like in a really good story where you go back to the beginning and it's like, I miss these days when everyone was young and innocent and all the Starks were still at Winterfell and Bran could climb things. It's going to be like that with Millie Alcock and Emily Carey, I think.
I know that Emily Carey, who plays Alicent, did say that it's possible they could return in season 2. But I hope they don't, or return like a very, very limited capacity. I don't feel like HBO would be dumb enough to do that. I feel like everyone loves them now. The task is to make us love the new people just as much and to go forward into the future. not to look back so much.
Yes.
Of course,
Totally.
I'd be in favor of them coming back if it worked, if there was like a good reason for it, but I just don't want them to do what I think a weak will producer would do, would be like, they're testing really well 1835. We got to get it back in the series, like post haste, which I don't think they would do.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope they don't do that too. I agree with you. I don't think that will happen. I mean, let us know in the comments if Emily Carey and Millie Alcock could come back, would you want them to? I think if the one way that I think I would really like it if they pulled it off was if they came back as like guest stars in one or two very specific episodes for a flashback where it's like something very specific is happening in Alicent and Rhaenyra's present relationship, and there's a way to parallel it with their past. Something like that, like guest stars, fine, but I wouldn't want to see them back in recurring roles, I think, after this.
I remember like in season 2 of Game of Thrones when Jason Momoa came back for like a brief dream thing in the House of the Undying for Daenerys. That was great. That was fine. That was cool. That was nice to see him again. But like, I mean, look, Khal Drogo blew up after the first season. Like, again, on a different network, they were like, so how are we going to get this guy back on the show? But no, he's dead. You can't do that. But yeah, bringing it back for a little thing, cool. All good. There's also the possibility that, I mean, even if we don't see them in flashback form, we could see them in deleted scenes, because apparently there's a few of those going around. So not long ago, Greg Yaitanis, who was the director of the second and third episodes, I think, the Rogue Prince and second of his name, it got out that there was this scene that we didn't get where it was Rhaenyra and Alicent before Alicent's wedding to Rhaenyra's dad. Has a photo from a scene that was cut, and Rhaenyra's kind of helping Alicent get into her wedding dress and being like, "So marrying my dad, huh? You sure that's a thing? We're all on board for that, are we?"
Is this what you want?
And I guess I get why. Well, I have no idea where that would have been, because the episode kind of ends with the announcement. So they would have like skipped forward a few months, because a royal wedding, it doesn't just happen, Daniel. To plan those things.
It's true.
And then ended it. It sounds kind of odd, but I hope it turns up in like a DVD or something. Blu-ray. Sorry, I'm young.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope we get it in the physical disc of whatever medium you prefer. Yeah, so my theory for this, because I read that this would be kind of a parallel to the scene in the first episode where Alicent is helping Rhaenyra get ready to be announced as the heir. So drawing a very intentional parallel where here Rhaenyra is helping Alicent get into her wedding dress. So I think this probably would have been like the last scene of the episode, or either last or second to last. But I think I could see it going the announcement and then the stuff with Daemon and Corlys, and then jumping back to Alicent's wedding. This is totally me speculating, but just in terms of how it would mirror the first, that's how I like that would be mirroring the first, basically, because Rhaenyra is seen as like the end of the first episode. Yeah, the wedding dress is gorgeous. You can't really see it here, and there were more pictures that I think have been taken down at this point from one of the hairstylists. I noticed that. I noticed our embeds about on this article. Some of them had been deleted. So I don't know if they got in trouble for posting pictures. But they posted pictures of the dress and a headdress that Alicent was supposed to wear, and they are gorgeous. You can't really make it out in this. Yeah, very work. She has like Targaryen dragon wing shoulder pads in this picture too. So yeah, I hope we see this at some point. Cool. Would have been nice.
As Andaman asked, what's the time jump to episode 5? And Andaman, I've seen a bit of it, and I can tell you, I can reveal exclusively, just don't tell me what I told you. There's really not much of one. For the first time, episode 5 picks up pretty much right where episode 4 picks off. We're not gonna have anybody come in and say like, we've been planning this for a year and a half, ostentatiously to the camera, wink, wink, wink. That's how you know how long a time it's been. This one pretty much straight through, which I think is, just to let you guys know, by the way, the whole show isn't going to be like this. They're going to do time jumps for a while, and then once the war starts, it'll just be more like Game of Thrones, where we're not like jumping forward in time. They're doing a whole lot of setup here. But when the setup is as entertaining as it was this past week, with, you know, uncles getting together with nieces and nieces getting together with bodyguards, and I'm not complaining at all. I think they're doing a good job of making setup feel like it's climax, no pun intended.
Yeah, totally. I think it almost feels a little bit like episode 4 and 5 are kind of like a 2-part ending for the younger actors a little bit, because it does carry a lot of the same plot points, as opposed to the first episodes where when I think it was Miguel Sapochnik said he could see this being an anthology series and covering other periods of Targaryen history. I kind of squinted at that, but seeing the first few episodes and the way it's like each one is a different period in time with different things happening, like it's easier to imagine that. But I think 4 and 5 they're one story. I think there's maybe a little bit of a passage of time in 5 subtly, just because there's a lot of traveling. That's not something I think the show really makes a point of, just like thinking about it now. There's some traveling that's got it. There's no Varys merman
first time
in this show. Yeah.
I will say, like, again, I'm not spoiling it, but I just watched this episode and it kind of feels more like Game of Thrones, because like there are people going over the map and it's cutting across different stories. And I'm like, oh, I remember this. Good times. And less like just incredibly intimate one thing going on in one place.
Yeah. But yeah, those are some of the big House of the Dragon things that I think we had on the docket to talk about today. You got something?
I want to hit up one more. About the intimate nature of the story. This last episode, everyone was getting intimate with everybody. It was all about intimacy. And there was just one interesting thing I thought, because the scene where Rhaenyra and her uncle Daemon are in the brothel and they're becoming amorous was really, really intense for me to watch. I was on the edge of my seat. The episode was tense. I was watching it nervous the entire time, which I thought was great. When I was watching it and he kind of puts the moves on her and then leaves sort of abruptly, I didn't really get it. I thought maybe he thought better of having sex with his niece. That was certainly a possibility that I thought about. Good for you, Daemon. But in the Inside the Episode featurette, I did not think of this, that Rhaenyra being excited by Daemon's advances triggered his impotence, which we'd seen in the first episode with Mysaria, and that's why he got huffy, walked away, got plastered, and woke up weirdly in Mysaria's solar or room or whatever. That didn't occur to me. Did anybody else out there get that? Or were you in my boat and just kind of a little more confused? Well, no, not confused, just like it was confusing, but I did not understand what was happening while I was watching it, at least not that part.
I feel like this is one thing I really like about this show. I think a lot of the interactions, there are like 2 or 3 layers to all of them. It's not so much a straight like, oh, they did this because this. I didn't read it that way about the impotence, which was basically once Rhaenyra started enjoying it, it was a turnoff for Daemon because he needed to feel in control, was kind of what they said in the Inside the Episode.
Therapy now.
Right. I read it as, so Rhaenyra and Viserys are like 2 of the only people that Daemon actually cares for at this point in the story. So I kind of viewed it as like him reaching a point where it's like, is he going to actually go through with this thing? Not even necessarily sleeping with his niece, but like doing it in this manner, in this really kind of sordid way, as her first experience, and just having second thoughts about that. And like, from a moral standpoint, because I do think Daemon has an odd moral streak where it's totally out the window most of the time, but then occasionally it crops up in interesting ways. What did you think about the power dynamic though? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think I think inside the episode, they also said, they pointed out that Daemon did this on purpose, like in terms of taking her somewhere very public because he wanted word to get back to Viserys. Is that something you thought of? Because that didn't really occur to me when I watched it.
Not while I watched it, but then when I watched it back, it made sense because he takes off the hats. Like he purposefully takes off her hat, unveiling her really distinctive white atomic Targaryen blonde hair. He removes his hood, really distinctive flock of seagulls, silver hair. Like you do that to be noticed. So actually, I like that because I didn't catch that, but they played fair. Like that one, they played fair with. I think the impotence thing was not really telegraphed much to my liking, but that thing actually was. I was just too dumb to get it.
Do you well, again, with the layers there, it's like even if you got 3 things about it, there's probably one more you missed, which is awesome. I love that. So
that's quality stuff.
So let's think about this for a second. So if Daemon did this intentionally with Rhaenyra, I've been thinking about this today.
Go ahead.
Does that mean that Daemon came to King's Landing with this in mind? So like this was his plan, because there's a moment where he glances at the throne when Viserys is like, "You're not a conqueror," holding Aegon's knife to his throat when he shouts that. I loved that little detail. Do you think that's why Daemon came back? Was to do that to Rhaenyra, to get closer to the throne?
No, I definitely could, because he couldn't have known if Rhaenyra would be, I don't know, as interested in him as he was, or as open to that as she was. I think he came back definitely with the intention of resuming his attempts to get the throne. I think once he flirted with Rhaenyra in the garden, he was like, "I see a way." I think that's what happened. I think that's when the plan formed. I think he definitely planned it. I'm not sure he was planning it for years, but he was definitely planning it from like that afternoon. And that's enough. One night's all it takes to just upend a dynasty and ruin everything and piss off his brother. So apparently. There was some good comments here. Someone mentioned the music was really fun. It was almost like horror movie music when it was like when Daemon and Rhaenyra were good, which is nice for the show to communicate through the score that it does not approve of this incest. This paradigmic incest. So yeah, that was good. Let's see. LCH Jeremy thinks there's definitely a paradigm going on there. Absolutely. Kind of with Kristen Cole a little bit too. Oh, LCH pointed out in a review on his channel. Which had very different music. Yes, it did. Once Rhaenyra started getting into it more and Daemon was in complete control anymore, it just wasn't into it then. Which just that's a problem for Daemon. Like that is a thing you address in therapy. I don't think there are any Westerosi therapists at all. And there are some doctors who think it reaches the height of praxis. Not. Let's see what else we got here. As LCH Jeremy says, I think Daemon is the opportunistic type. I think he saw Rhaenyra, was feeling deeply depressed and feeling pushed aside and saw an opportunity. I agree with you, LCH Jeremy. I think that's what happened. I think he is an opportunistic dude. He does some stuff that I already want to talk about the next episode, but we won't. I can't. But of course, Daemon's gonna, always stirring up conversation wherever he goes. Yeah. Yep. Daemon's therapist bill. Oof. He's a royal though, LCH Jeremy. They can afford it. His brother would pay all of his bills. Yeah. If they can afford just a giant stable to house their dragons and a bunch of people to speak a learn and feed them, they can afford like a therapist. I'm going to go ahead and say 3 times a week for Daemon. Like start high and see what at least. Yeah.
That seems like a good starting point. 3 times a week. I'd be curious to see if the therapist lives out the week. We'll see. Yeah, me too, actually. He would run through therapists like tissue paper. Yeah, it would be so gone. Yeah. As Andaman says, Matt Smith is awesome. I agree. Absolutely killing it. Yes, he is. Daniel, if this show keeps going like this, I said this before, but I really, really believe it. And it keeps being this high level of quality and they get to all the stuff in Fire and Blood. I don't see how this doesn't become the role of Matt Smith's career. I don't see how it doesn't become bigger than The Doctor. Like it's so juicy and he's so good in it. And there's so many high points to come with Daemon. I think he has this in the bag, assuming he keeps his nose to the grindstone. Yeah. I think I agree with you. So admittedly, I'm not a huge Doctor Who person. I've seen some episodes. I haven't seen a ton, but I do think like Daemon is the money role of this show. Like there are a lot of money roles, but like that's the one where like there's a reason that we've all been talking about Daemon every single week, because he's just written to always be doing some crazy thing that's going to get to us. That wacky Daemon. that wacky Daemon. I think Daemon is one of the best characters in this show, and I don't know that Matt Smith is widely considered the best Doctor. Like, I know a lot of people love David Tennant, so it's like I could see how this might put him above that, like, long term, especially if it gets to everything in Fire and Blood, because Damon's got some juicy stuff coming up, and I can't wait to see how they handle it.
Again, I'm just thinking about all that now. I'm thinking about all the opportunities they're going to have with this crew. I'm thinking about Adam of Hull, and I'm thinking about Nettles, and I'm thinking about some of the big battles they got coming up, and I'm like, oh, this could be so good. But okay,
the God's Eye, man.
I mean,
that's the one I keep. I've tried to
like break down the seasons, like what they could, like, where would they get in season 2, season 3, and it couldn't. I think 4, like, just looking at the events, I don't think it could last past 4. That's because I just don't see how they could stretch it past that. But I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else going on in the world?
I think. Sorry, I mean, I guess there's that other. No, that's all right. I was just gonna say 4. I think the only way they could do it in 3 is if they rush the come down, because the Dance of the Dragons has a pretty long tail of how it resolves, and I hope they don't rush that, because I think that is what they might need a 4th season to really explore. But interesting. Yeah, I guess it will be. I'm ready for the Hour of the Wolf. I am curious to see how they do that. But yeah, I guess there's one other show that's going on right now. There's that other fantasy show. The Rings of Power aired a new episode this week. I thought it was the best one that they have had so far. We got to see Númenor, the mythical kingdom that Aragorn's ancestors are descended from. It's basically Tolkien's version of Atlantis. What did you think of this episode?
I liked it. I mean, I'll be honest. I was surprised you liked it as much as you did, and then that you graded it so high. I thought it was a little. I thought it was good. I thought it was a little messy.
Okay.
I mean, really? the Rings. I think that the show just feels a little rote at times. Just the elves doing the Matrix thing with the chain. It looked cool. Don't get me wrong, but just it's not really giving me things that I couldn't get in a lot of other action adventure fantasy type things. Like no one else is doing what House of the Dragon is doing. No one else would dare. But
yeah, that is fair.
But I don't know. I'm watching like elves fight orcs and kind of go like with a chain, and I'm like, that's cool. I like it, but I'm not thrilled by it in the way that I'm being really excited by House of the Dragon. And I know that we shouldn't. Well, no, that's not true. Comparisons are inevitable. I said that from the beginning. So I like it. I enjoyed Númenor. Yeah. I like that. Oh my God, so beautiful. You can see the budget there, and I like what was going on. I mean, and then we learned like that Halbrand, who's the dashing ocean man, is a secret king in waiting, which gave me serious Aragorn flashbacks.
Of course, and I didn't like that, for the record.
And I wonder if all the speculation about him being secretly Sauron or whatever is people trying to talk themselves out of the seemingly obvious path they're taking, which is Aragon 0.0. It's like, maybe he's a secret evil guy.
Well, I think so. I didn't think about this. I saw this theory online and was just like, that I would bet money this is what they're doing. My first thought was, is this Sauron? Once he started charming everyone, because that's a thing Sauron's known for. Only when he started charming people in Númenor. I didn't think it at all before that. But then when the Secret King thing came out, I bet he could be Theo's father, Bronwyn's person that she had Theo with. Think that's a possibility.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think either or both of them will become Nazgul. I think that is more what it's setting up than Sauron. They have the blood of Morgoth.
Sure.
They have a darkness in them. They can still be kings then, and we can still get Aragorn 2.0, but he'll become a Nazgul and it will be sad.
That'd be different.
Jury's out. Yeah, it would be different. I think if they really played with that to the point where like he's judging and executing people and stuff like that, that could be crazy. But we have a ways to go to get there. And I do agree that it's a little rote in terms of the plot. There's nothing really that is flooring me. I liked the Mordor twist. I saw it coming before it happened. That the Southlands is what will one day be Mordor. So we're gonna see the origins of Mordor in this show.
But it's fun. But again, like she like finds the symbol. It's a map, and again, it's fine. It's cool. It works. But it's also like it gave me Nancy Drew. It gave me like Hardy Boys. It wasn't anything that it felt like it was thought up by a TV writer, which it wasn't. That's fine, and I liked it. And it was good. It's just it's not punching me in the gut like I don't know. You figure you would buy with $1 billion.
Yeah. I think a lot of that comes down to the writing, honestly, because I think the visuals are incredible. I think the music is great. I found myself gasping like at just how gorgeous Númenor was, but you can't make a show on that alone. And thinking about like like the politics of Númenor, they're okay. I love the whole like the sea was right. That kind of cultural development I think is cool.
That's cool.
But like thinking about Galadriel and them trying to like navigate the Númenorian politics, and then imagine like, because you can't help but compare because that's where we are right now. Imagining like, what would this be like if Daemon Targaryen lived in Númenor? Man, he would turn it into a hive of debauchery in like 5 minutes. Sauron would get there to wreck Númenor and be like, well, my work here, I'm not needed. I guess I'll go back to Mordor. You keep doing you, Daemon. Because the politics are just so much more dangerous in House of the Dragon. Like they're real politics in a fantasy show versus, the Númenorians don't like elves because of other dark influences. It's not a political reason, really.
Which I mean, like, and that's fine because Lord of the Rings isn't that show. Like, and it shouldn't be. By the way, somebody asked me YouTube. Sorry, I can't see your name anymore. But Galadriel versus Daemon, who wins in a fight? I mean, for my love. Well, I love Galadriel, but okay. So this Galadriel, Daemon wins my love, but Galadriel wins the fight because she's like thousands of years old and has gotten a few tricks up her sleeve in those millennia. And Daemon's a Hellion. But, well, I guess with his dragon, though. Oh, he'd win. Okay, yeah. That's a surprisingly complicated answer,
Does he get the dragon? Yeah. I think
if the dragon,
Daemon
then
might
yes.
pull something.
If no,
too.
I think she'd see it coming. I think Daemon would win with the dragon, but without it, Galadriel would win. That's my answer to that.
That's a fair answer, I think. Andamon says Galadriel doesn't feel so angelic as she was in Lord of the Rings. She feels like a teenager here. That's the point. I think that is a very intentional thing because she is thousands of years younger here. She's supposed to be thousands of years younger. We don't know how the time's going to actually work out between this show and the Third Age.
But a lot younger. I mean, she's still thousands of years old. I actually agree with your Andamon that the elves in general, like, I did not like that very first scene where the elves were like the elven kids were being bullies.
I hated
to elven Galadriel. It did not track. Just
in Valinor, no less.
Yeah, which is like a paradise. I mean, yes, elves can be younger and more reckless, but they're not that petty. They're always a little more angelic, a little above us. That did not track. And that was the first scene. Like, that gave me some bad vibes at the top.
Yeah, I agree. The ship metaphor I did not particularly like from her brother either. It felt like a clunky clunky meta. If I used that metaphor in an article, you would have yelled at me for it, is how I felt when she. Well, I would have yelled at me for it. But I do think the Rings of Power has an uphill battle for sure. It's weird to me that it started after House of the Dragon and it's going to end before House of the Dragon. But there were good things in this episode, whether you liked the weird looking warg, which I personally thought was kind of cool, but I can understand why people might not have liked it.
I didn't mind it.
It was scary looking.
I noticed it. I was like, the hell is that? Yeah. But it was fun.
Yeah, I agree with Jay Patel. Elendil is my favorite by quite a lot.
He was nice, yeah.
There's something about Lloyd Owen, that actor in that role. He just he's just got a presence where you just I pay more attention when he's dropping lines. I like the actor who plays Muriel too. I don't know her name off the top of my head. I hope we get more of her because I thought she was pretty good as well. But yeah, we'll see. New episode Friday. Yeah, I missed the dwarves.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the last one. By the way, the Facebook folk, yeah, I do see the comments are being a little weird. I'm sorry about that. But I blame Meta. I blame Mark Zuckerberg. I blame the company formerly known as Facebook. And I am sorry. But we still see your comments. So we are still coming in loud and clear. All right. What's next on the old agenda, Daniel?
I guess the what are we watching?
What are we?
And we're gonna switch it up. Yeah, because I've also been reading. We've been watching and reading this time. Yeah, I don't know, Dan. What have you been watching aside from these two shows? Are there other shows?
There are
worth anyone's time.
I mean, I'm still watching the Orville, still enjoying it. Just the the earnestness in on TV in 2022, far too much. That's been sarcastic. I'm liking it. I'm enjoying it. I never did Star Trek, so it's just kind of getting into the rhythm of it is different for me, but I like it. And I read something.
Hang in there.
I will. I'm on season 2. I read the epic.
What did you read?
I read the epic poem, "The Green Knight," by an anonymous medieval author who's kind of been lost to time. It's pretty short. It's it wasn't hard to read, but it was nice. It was fun. It was it's kind of cool to read something like that and like a real book, epic poem, whatever you want to call it, written centuries ago with sensibilities that are just different from the ones we have now. You know, like people kind of caring about things that it doesn't make sense to us, but then also there are some parts that hit really contemporary, like as it would today, like characters kind of behaving back and forth with each other, interact with each other in like a flirty, fun way. It's like this wouldn't be out of place in something on TV now. And then there are other bits, some misogynist bits, I'm not gonna lie, that maybe would be kept off.
Okay.
But talk about a product of your time, like the year 1200 or whatever.
Product of your century.
Mm-hmm. Millennia.
What did you see the movie, The Green Knight?
Yes, I saw that first, and then I read the book just over the past couple of weekends. But again, it's a short book. Sure, added a lot for the movie. Jeez.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how did you think? So I have not seen The Green Knight. I haven't read it. Mm-hmm. How do you think they stacked up?
It wasn't terribly faithful. I mean, it was in some of the events, but it was much more serious, the movie. The book kind of have like a light touch to it. And I get it because we look back through the centuries, and I think the only way we can make sense of something this kind of epic is to turn it into like a serious drama. I mean, if I were making the Green Knight movie, I would have gone lighter because the book is not terribly heavy. The book is like more like a cute little fairy story with some humanist elements rather than like the dark, grim journey. I liked the movie; it was fun, but not very much like the book. No.
Got it. Cool.
How about you, Daniel? What are you reading?
So I've been reading probably more than watching anything because I've just been watching House of the Dragon and the Rings of Power on repeat. I've seen each episode multiple times this week, but I have been reading This book, Notorious Sorcerer by Davinia Evans, came out yesterday. Full disclosure, Orbit sent me a copy of this to check out. I have been enjoying it quite a lot. It's kind of I would compare it to like The Lies of Locke Lamora or Neil Gaiman. Like it's
cool.
about this petty alchemist who's trying to climb the social ladder, and is just a chaotic mess of a human being. So it's a lot of fun, and it's got the kind of the lyricism of like Neil Gaiman, where it's like the writing is lyrical, but also like fun, if that makes sense. It's not The Last Unicorn just trying to make you weep your tears of sadness with its beauty. It's like Davinia uses great metaphors that are also like, haha, okay, you said that, I like that. So yeah, I've been reading that. It's excellent. And I have not been reading this book, but I know it came out this week and I'm gonna get to it. The third book of the Locked Tomb, Gideon the Ninth. I think the new one is Nona the Ninth. So a lot of people are really excited about that book. Get to it eventually. Too many books, too little time.
Yep, there are always books. It's good to remind people there are books in the world in addition to TV and movies and video games. By the way, Richard asked a smart-ass question about if it's lost to time, how did you read it, Selcke? Okay, well, Richard, the book isn't lost. The author's name has been lost to time. No one knows who wrote it. The book has been in print for like 800 years. So there we go.
Get the gavel.
Oh,
not really. Don't do it.
You know, I'm just no. Okay, no, that'd be wrong. If anybody out there has been reading or watching anything, let us know. We'd be curious. Julie's still reading Fire and Blood. Not really watching much though.
Nice.
Yes, Saul is correct. This full title is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It is the complete title. I just called it the book.
Gotcha.
It was written, according to Saul, in the 16th century. I got that right? That's the XVI, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
It is indeed.
And Christian asks, Daniel, ever read the Dragonlance Chronicles? Did you?
I have not read Dragonlance. I know of it. That's Raistlin, right? So I know a little bit, but I haven't read those books. They're on my list, my eternal and never-ending list of books to read.
You could spend your entire life just...
Let me know. Just reading? That sounds like Samwell.
You could reading, watching, just doing 24 hours a day, doing nothing. You would still come nowhere close to everything that's in the world. So,
yep,
that's nice. Shall we move on to lightning round?
Yeah. Right. I think it is the time for the lightning round. So I am gonna ask you first. I think. No, you asked me first.
Okay.
I'm so confused.
On the lightning round, where we go over some of the stories we couldn't fit into the main body of the show and give our 20-second takes on other news. The first item for you is, not only has filming wrapped on The Witcher season 3, they might have renewed it for season 4 and 5.
Yeah, so there's a report that The Witcher is planning to do season 4 and 5 back to back. This has not been confirmed, but keep an eye on Netflix's event Tudum coming out on the 24th. We're watching that for announcements. But yeah, either way, season 3 is filmed, so that's exciting. Probably come out mid to late next year is my guess.
Yeah, sounds about right.
All right, Dan. So Kit Harington, Jon Snow himself, is enjoying, in quotes, he's enjoying House of the Dragon.
Yeah, Kit Harington is funny because he's like one of the cast members you could tell likes to watch the show. Like some you can tell like this is a job, but he's into this. He had the idea for the Jon Snow spin-off series. Like he came to them and pitched that, which I think is hilarious. He's enjoying the new show. Of course he is. Good for him. I want to see what they all think about it.
Yeah.
All right. Daniel, next news item. Amazon has canceled its 80s set sci-fi show Paper Girls after one season. Any knowledge of this one?
Yeah, not really. I know it's based on a comic, and it is in a similar vein to Stranger Things. There's a time travel, time war
80s.
element.
Mm-hmm.
80s. I guess it didn't really do very well. Either that or Amazon is getting on the Netflix train and canceling things quickly because it wasn't out very long.
Yeah.
So it's
I heard
too
good
bad.
things.
I know some people liked it. Same. Okay, Dan. So some gaming news. The Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel title and release date were announced. So the next Zelda is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's coming out on May 12th, 2023. Will you be playing?
Sweet. Yeah, I will actually. I play a couple video games a year, maybe, and I will make some time for Zelda. I like Breath of the Wild.
Nice.
I do not like that title, Tears of the Kingdom. Like it's not quite a metaphor that we're familiar with. Like the references, it reminds me of the Rise of Skywalker, where it's like those words don't really go together, do they? And neither do these. But the game, I'm all over. Title, workshop that one. It feels like they just took some Scrabble words, like slammed them down to whatever order it was. Okay, sorry, going on. Okay.
No, that's fair. You compared it to the Rise of Skywalker. I think that's a good comparison for how it's like. It doesn't quite fit the way you think it does.
Like I know that you're
we'll
like
see.
pulling.
I'm sure
we got to move on, but I want to talk about this more.
Yeah.
Daniel, there's a new trailer out for Interview with the Vampire, starring Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed. That show will start on ABC on October 2nd, right in time for spooky season. Are you gonna watch?
Yeah, I will definitely be watching. I love, Interview with the Vampire and Anne Rice's books. I'm a little nervous about, the different time period for this, that it seems like trying something different with this show, but I'm curious. I'm too curious not to watch.
Me too.
Yeah.
I will be checking it out. We'll see where it goes.
Will you be checking out this next one though?
I don't know.
Charlie Cox, Charlie Cox, he plays Matt Murdock / Daredevil in Disney, Netflix, Mario, blah, 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 all the stuff, he is teasing that there could be a tonal shift for Daredevil Born Again. He isn't scared of it though. What do you think?
I think it's funny how everyone who gets asked this is trying to make like the new Daredevil show isn't going to be significantly more family friendly than the last one, because they get paid by Disney and they don't want to make their employer happy. But yeah, obviously Daredevil's not going to go nearly as hard as it used to because it's on Disney Plus, the show with the network and everybody else. So that's just the truth.
Yeah, totally.
All right, Daniel. Okay. Here's a Doctor Who-ish one. How would you have felt if the producers of Doctor Who, working on the request of the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, had done as he asked and cast Tom Hanks as the Doctor in a guest spot? Would you have watched then?
Probably not. That just sounds like folly. And Tom Hanks, for the record, said this sounded like folly to him too. He said he couldn't do it. It's kind of a quintessentially British role. It would have been so weird to have, American Tom Hanks trying to do a British accent to be Doctor Who. No one wanted that, not even him.
I would have watched it, but that's just me.
That's fair. It could have been funny, I guess. All right. So the last question of the lightning round. Disney brought out the big guns to get everyone's attention at their D23 Fan Expo. They want us to watch their things until we wither away into dust. They premiered new trailers for a Secret Invasion series starring Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, Werewolf by Night Halloween special that's coming out this year, and The Mandalorian season 3. And they announced stuff like the lineup for the Thunderbolts, which is their anti-hero crossover movie to end Phase 5. It's a lot. Ooh, Dan, are you ready to sell your soul to Disney? Yeah.
I was born ready. Of the things they revealed, Mandalorian season 3 I'll watch, and I thought that the Secret Invasion trailer looked like they were going for old school MCU kind of a serious sheen. I thought that one looked kind of promising and just like expensive, which is what the MCU should do best. It's like just big, splashy, straightforward, entertaining. So I might watch that one.
Cool. Yeah, lots of good
All
stuff.
right. And that has been an episode of Take the Black Live, which is a show that we stream every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time here on the Winter is Coming Facebook page, the Winter is Coming YouTube page. We're also available in podcast form wherever podcasts are available, be Google Play, iTunes, or elsewhere. And we're also doing post House of the Dragon episode breakdowns every single Sunday, right after the episode airs, even a little before if you want to come hang out with us beforehand. In the same places, YouTube page, Facebook page. We're also on TikTok, WiC, where we're posting all kinds of fun short videos aided by wonderful producer, editor Richard Durante. And that's about where we are. So thank you for watching. See you again shortly. Winter is leaving. Goodbye.
Take care, y'all.